Did you find out what it was? It's the pandanus palm. Really important type of bush tucker, this one. The logs we use by Woppaburra are swim logs, that they float really well. You can see the fruit here on the ground. This is the pandanus fruit. It forms in like a bit of a pineapple. They also call it breadfruit. Inside there is a seed that can be crushed up and made damper and biscuits and that from. As this though, that they're poisonous. They have to be treated. They should only be treated by people who know how to do it. So you actually soak them and roast them, and you're aiming to get the seed out. As well as that, the leaf, you can actually tear away this leaf and it's got really good fibres in it. So it's used for rope and fishing line as well. The pandanus. It's the native hibiscus. Really great plant. I really like this one. These little shoots can be eaten. The flowers can be eaten. The timber you see there, nice straight, used for spears, used for harpoons as well. And the bark, you can actually use that bark for rope, and that's how we actually use some of that in our durra that you'll see in a minute. It's the weeping cabbage tree palm. Now over here, this is a good example, this one. This is the bit of bush tucker you get here. In this palm here, they're a bit spiky, you gotta watch the spikes, but we get in here and we actually dig that out and it's like a cabbage and it's really nice, but you kill the plant. These leaves could be used for thatching or shelter as well. Cabbage tree palm. This is a Moreton Bay fig. Now all figs in Australia can actually eat the fruit. Now have a look at this one here, you'll see the fruit. They're not quite ripe yet on this one, they're yellow fruit. You got to try and beat the birds to them. But when you actually find one that's ripe, they're all a bit unripe at the moment, but what you need to do is you need to actually check inside because they get a little wasp in them. This one seems pretty clear, but you got to check because a wasp does lay its eggs in this one. Once again, don't eat anything unless you have an adult with you that has the knowledge of these plants. I'm very lucky because I've been shown a lot of the bush tucker here on the island by Uncle Bob Muir, senior Woppaburra elder, who has shown us a lot of this stuff as well. I've also looked through the books. Capricornia, Plants for Capricornia is a really handy book as well as any other sort of bush tucker books you can find. But once again, my advice is don't eat anything or put anything on your skin until you have an expert who actually can really identify that plant with you. This is the sandpaper fig. Now that sandpaper there, that was used by Woppaburra to smooth out tools. It's a really like sandpaper. This sap can actually be used as treatment for warts. They actually put this on warts for 2 weeks and it'll actually clear up skin ailments as well. It also has some use for stingray stings as well, and marine stings. So the sandpaper fig, you can see that fruit there, that's a cracker, that one, that's huge. They turn a really maroon colour, but once again you've got to beat the birds to them and always check them that they don't have that little wasp in them. You can see the little ones coming on here, but there's no ripe ones on this plant. This is the black she oak or casuarina. Now really interesting, this part you see here, this isn't actually the leaf, this is actually the stem. Now the leaf is actually inside this bit here. You can see there, that's the actual leaf structure. Why would a plant like this have a leaf structure like that? That's a really interesting one. See if you can find some more information on that. This one here, high in citric acid, these leaves. They're actually a thirst quencher. Now this plant has nitrogen fixating nodules. It actually puts nitrogen back into the soil. Australian soils are very poor in nitrogen. This plant helps with nitrogen in the soil. Has separate male and female plants. Every other plant, so like the fig, the male and female part is in the flower. The casuarina or she oak, it has very separate male and female plants. She oak or casuarina. This is what they call snakeweed. Now it's not to be confused with this purple top over here. You can see the distinct difference in those flowers to purple top. These flowers on the snakeweed plant, they're edible. They taste a bit like mushroom. You can see that, but this isn't a native snakeweed. Now I did tell you about that tree earlier. Now it's actually the native hibiscus, and that's the rope you can make from the native hibiscus. This one's the goat's foot. The roots of this one can be used to put on wounds or sores as well. You'll see that one along the beach, goat's foot. We're walking past this one, I just thought I'd show you that. That's that hibiscus flower that I was talking about. The yellow part's a bit flowery, but the bottom part there has quite got a nutty flavour to it. It's the hibiscus. So it's the paperbark, or melaleuca, or tea tree. The bark's really good for cooking. You can actually dig a hole, paperbark, fish paperbark, bury it, light your fire on top, and it gives it a beautiful flavour. The flower of this tree, and that's why they call it tea tree, you can actually dip the flower in a hot drink and it makes a really nice tea. These leaves are really good if you've got a cold, and probably good right now at the moment with what's happening in the world. But this one here, if you scrunch these leaves up and you actually sniff on them, they actually can alleviate a lot of your cold problems, sinus problems, I guess. As well, the leaves can be chewed on or put in a bit of a steamy bath to help relieve colds as well. So the tea tree, melaleuca, or paperbark. Hey, this is the red ash or soap tree. You get this one over on the mainland a lot. You got to realise, I guess, North Keppel Island is a continental island. So this was once part of the mainland. Then after the Ice Age and all the Ice Age melted, the ocean rose and we were cut off from the mainland. So you're going to see a lot of the plants that we see here on the mainland. Maybe you can check that out and do a bit of research onto continental islands and coral cays. How do continental islands and coral cays differ? Let's get back to this one though. This one's got saccharin in it. Okay, it's a fish poison basically. What happens is scrunch up all those leaves and the bark, put it in a rock pool. It sucks out all the oxygen out of the water. The fish float to the surface, and then you can just collect all the fish. I'm going to take some leaves off this one. We're not actually in the national park at the moment. We're still on our lease, so we can actually do this. And I'm going to take off some of these leaves, and I'm going to show you the actual soap part of it. So I've got my trusty bucket here, and what we'll do is we'll scrunch these up in here. We'll get them going. And if you see this here, see it lathering up like soap, and it feels really slimy, just like soap. So this is where the soap tree actually comes from, the part of what they call the soap tree. So if you're running out of soap at home, here's a good alternative, the red ash or the soap tree. How'd you go? Did you find out what it is? It's actually the black wattle. You'll notice this tree, very good timber, very good for burning. It's a hardwood and can be used in building structure as well. You'll notice on here, these little things. These are little wasp galls. A wasp has actually laid its eggs in these, and it tricks the tree, and the tree grows over it. The wasp will visit this, putting in little caterpillars and spiders and that, and then it'll hatch into a grub and then eventually turn into your wasp. So the black wattle. Did you find out what it was? It's a type of rush. Now, they're very good uses with this one. You can actually use these leaves. They're really strong. You can't actually, if I try to break that, it's really hard. These leaves were used for weaving. Very important type of plant for weaving because they're so strong. This leaf is just so strong. It's used for weaving and rope. So yeah, it's a type of rush. This one's a tough one. It's actually called the dodder vine. Really good for making rope and stringing that from the dodder vine. It's a native. It's a type of passion fruit. This isn't a native, it's actually an introduced species. You can actually see the flower looks very much like your passion fruit you might have growing at home. Now you can see these fruits here, they're not good to eat green. Okay, they're not good to eat green, but you can see here, now look down here, this tells me a little bit. You can see the birds or a little rat or something's been eating at this. That was a ripe fruit, and they taste sort of like bubble gum. So type of passion fruit. Hey, this is actually got a type of sweet potato under here. You can actually dig up that tuber and eat it. So it's actually like a sweet potato. Quite an interesting one. Native. Hey, this is blady grass. Now, blady grass is related to sugarcane. So the bottom top part of this root's really sweet to eat. So it's a really good one, that one. Blady grass. Hey, it's the kaki apple. Now, this one's really great. The really cool thing about this one is it only flowers at night. Now, it does that for a very specific reason. I wonder why it would only flower at night. The fruit can actually be eaten off this one, the kaki apple. The Woppaburra used this one to tell them when a season was happening. When they saw this one flower, they knew that the mullet were running down at Considine Creek. So they'd go down to Considine Creek and they'd put out their nets. And there's a story that they had a bit of a relationship with some dolphins, and the dolphins would round up all the mullet into the nets, and of course Woppaburra would give a mullet in return. So the kaki apple is a really important one. This is the grevillea, or as you saw on that sign, referred to as the red silky oak. Really great, gets beautiful red flower. You can actually tap that flower in your hand and it'll put all the little sweet sort of juice on it, and you can actually lick all that up. It's a really a cool one and really sweet flower. So the red silky oak or the grevillea. Hey, this is the grass tree, or Xanthorrhoea. Now you can actually eat this white part of these leaves. Down in here is actually really good to eat. This is one that I found on the ground. You can actually split these open, and sometimes they get a nice big grub in them that you can actually find and eat. It looks like this one's been on the ground a bit too long. It actually looks like there's some termites in here. You'll actually see these. Termites are really good protein. Those termites there, pound for pound, they pack a lot of punch in protein. So that termite, there's a bit of a feed there in that stick there. Hey, this is the mat rush. The edible part of this plant's down here in this white part, and it tastes a bit like a bit of a pea. So the mat rush.